Hi, it's me, Jacqueline. Welcome to my channel. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and join me at Patreon. Link in the description. Miss Roberts held the pink one against my body, then did the same with the black one. I can't decide if you'll look better in black or pink. She put both items back into the bag and told me to put it beside my bed until later. I did as she asked, then waited for the next stage. Right, girls, let's go to the lounge and we can begin. Not for the first time, my mind was a confusion of ideas. Yes, I had always wanted to dress as a woman, but I could never have imagined that it would be under the circumstances of the last 2 days. What was the motivation for these women to take what appeared to be some considerable effort, not to mention expense, to forcibly feminize me to such an extreme that I now had a job in a fashion store? Could I have done more to resist them? Or was the truth really that I had enjoyed all the attention? Miss Roberts waited until we were all seated in the lounge. I was told to sit in one of the chairs while they all sat on the couch. It very much reminded me of an interview. "Well, Sally, what do you think of your new room?" she asked as she removed a document wallet from her large leather business bag. As I had no wish to upset Laura, I replied, "It's beautiful." Miss Roberts laid out an assortment of items on the table before us. Sheets of paper, a videotape, and a mobile telephone were the more recognizable items. Laura was given the videotape and asked to put it in the player, but not to turn it on just yet. Miss Roberts gathered her paperwork, then looked at me direct. "Now, Sally, we have some more information for you before we start your training proper. First of all, we have been quite surprised at how you've coped this weekend. I've seen worse impersonations of women, and you do have fantastic legs." This was the first compliment I think I had been paid by her. It was a bit of a surprise, but it made me feel good. "However, we hope that now you can appreciate it's not quite the cakewalk you imagined being a woman, is it?" I nodded. "I'd say at the moment you're passable. But you do need an awful lot of training to convince us that you're indeed one of the girls." She motioned to Laura that she should start the videotape. "This is the shop CCTV video from Saturday. You'll notice I arranged for it to be trained exclusively in your area. It's been edited so it doesn't last the whole day. Let's watch it together, and if anyone, apart from you of course, Sally, has any comments, then please speak up." As the tape began, I could see myself standing waiting in the shoes section of the shop. I was tugging at the white blouse and fiddling with the open buttons as the first women entered the display area. "Never fidget, Sally," Cindy rebuked me. "It gives the customers the impression that you might be vulnerable, makes you a target for shoplifters, and so on." Such a situation had never occurred to me, but I was glad of the advice. But I did feel very vulnerable at that precise moment in time. There was no sound with the tape, so you could only guess what the customer was asking me for. I took the customer over to a display of ankle boots, and you could see me lifting up a pair for her to have a look at. She shook her head, then chose another pair. I then took the boot from her and went out of shot. That customer there spotted that you were not everything you might have appeared to be. She is watching as you head for the stock room. She is curious and is undecided if the person serving her is in fact female. I had not noticed the fact that my walk over to the door of the stock room was being so carefully observed by the customer. Most women will not say anything to you, even if they are curious or offended. They will not want to believe that the person fitting their shoes is in fact male. Laura made another comment that made me blush with embarrassment. "I think it's Sally hands. They need manicured and properly shaped. I'll give you a proper set of nails, Sally, you just wait. You'll soon forget those horrible male hands." As the tape continued, I was aware that Miss Roberts was correct. I was passable, but there was plenty of work to be done. I thought at the time I was convincing, but could see now on the tape that I did at times, in my opinion, look like a guy in a skirt. And some of the customers appeared to notice this too. "You realize now, Sally, that what you think you might look like is not entirely what others see? I think you have the basics, but the detail is missing, those little signs that women give out to other women. What you are doing just now is trying to be woman from a male point of view. That does not work, I'm afraid." Miss Roberts made a note on the writing pad she had been using. "But don't despair, Sally. There is no reason why, once you have completed your induction, you will not acquire these mannerisms and characteristics. In short, you will stop to function as a male and begin to function correctly as a female." I nodded. "This week is not just a crash course in womanhood. It will help you to make the initial adjustments to your personality. Once it is over, you will continue your reassignment on a daily basis. The difference being that you will have the necessary thought process of a woman to enable you to make the correct choices. Before I could ask what sort of choices she meant, I was told. They might be something as trivial as what bra to wear? Or is that shade of eyeshadow going to look good? My hands went down to the hem of my skirt, which I adjusted then smoothed out to reduce possible creasing. What Miss Roberts was saying did make sense. The difference that those choices will be very different from the ones you would have made if you were still thinking like a man. The use of the past tense alarmed me slightly. Since all this had begun, they had always referred to me as a she rather than he. We all turned our attention to the tape and watched the remaining half an hour of my debut day at work. Miss Roberts took the tape back from the video player and placed it inside her bag for safekeeping. Cindy offered to go and make fresh tea. Laura gave me a reassuring wink. It was going to be okay. At that moment, the doorbell rang, and Miss Roberts got to her feet and went to answer it. On the way out, she turned and spoke gently. "We've got big plans for you, Sally, and they start right now." Laura looked at me, then at Cindy. "That's not George already, is it?" she said. As Miss Roberts went to open the door, Cindy hurried over to me, put a hand on my arm and said, "Don't let Georgie intimidate you. Remember, we are all here to help you." I wanted this to be so, but my mind kept going back to the photos. Why had they taken them? Certainly, I did not consider myself a realistic candidate for blackmail, and they had already gone to some considerable effort and expense to help me. Miss Roberts had even paid off my tenancy agreement, and Laura let me move in with her. I needed answers to clear any doubts, so I asked Cindy, "Why did you need to take those photographs?" I blurted out. For a second, I thought I was going to cry. Cindy looked upset. She gave me a hug before offering an explanation. It was Karen's idea, but you must not misjudge her. She didn't want you to panic and run off. "Why?" I replied. Cindy sat up and smiled. "She doesn't want you to miss the opportunity to travel the road she and we know you want to." "Oh, Sally, I can see you're offended. It was a silly thing to do, but you'll find out in time that we really do want to help you. Please forgive us." I nodded. "I forgive you." Miss Roberts welcomed the visitor. "Georgie, how are you?" She sounded delighted, whoever it was. One thing I had noticed about Miss Roberts and the two girls was their great figures. They could wear almost any clothes and look great. Having seen Miss Roberts in her underwear, I could vouch for the fact that she would make a great lingerie model. But when Georgie entered the room, I was speechless. Georgie, it turned out, was short for Georgina, and she had the most amazing figure I think I had ever seen. She was 5'10", albeit in heels, and must no larger than a size 8. Her light blonde hair was styled to perfection, and her makeup was simply stunning. She wore a coral-colored skirt suit with matching heels. A white vest top was just visible under the jacket. Her gold jewelry looked every bit as expensive as the rest of her, and I found myself wanting the handbag she carried. Georgina put her bag down and gave all the girls a hug as if they were long-lost friends. Then she ran an immaculately manicured hand through her hair and approached me. "Hi, I'm Georgina, but they all call me Georgie. You must be Sally," as she then gave me a similar hug. I replied, "Yes," and took in the scent of the perfume she was wearing. "I'm pleased to meet you, Sally, and it's fine for you to call me Georgie too. We are all friends here," she replied in a warm tone. She stood back a step and looked me over. Her eyes went from my shoes, then up to the red skirt and jumper, and finally my face. I found it difficult to look her straight in the eyes. Georgina took my hands and inspected the nail polish. Then she spoke, but not directly to me, more about me. "I have seen a lot worse, Karen. We do have some work here, though." Georgina gave me a smile and then put a hand to my hair. "We will need to do something with this hair of yours, Sally. Have you ever had it colored or even worn it shoulder length before?" I shook my head. "No, Georgie." "Well, don't you worry about that. There's plenty of time for hairdressing later." Miss Roberts came over beside us. "Georgie here is going to be your guardian angel for the next week, Sally. She is the senior cabin crew trainer for a large international airline. She has plenty of experience instructing young women in their more refined roles and will help introduce you to your new world." Georgie smiled. "I'm not an ogre, Sally, so just relax and enjoy." It took little guessing on my part that the cabin crew she had instructed had been of the female variety, so at least I had an idea of what might be in store over the coming week. We all took a break, and it was Georgie who pointed out to me the correct way for a lady to take tea. This was one of the little mannerisms that Miss Roberts had said I was lacking. It had to be second nature to me if I was going to pass the test. When we had finished our refreshments, it was a little after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and Georgie got to her feet and announced, "I think we should all go out for a late lunch." Miss Roberts and Cindy nodded, but Laura pointed toward the kitchen and said, "I could make everyone lunch here, it's no bother." Georgie shook her head and took me by the hand towards my room. "That's sweet, Laura, but I think I want to see Sally in real time. It will help me make an assessment." "Now, Sally, let's get you changed into something nice. Where's that room of yours?" Laura had previously given me a whirlwind tour of my new home, and I took her to my room where she went straight for the wardrobe to see what was inside. "Take off everything, Sally, even your undies," she said as she fanned through the rail looking for just the right outfit for lunch. I did as she asked and folded the jumper and skirt neatly, putting them on the end of bed before taking off the shoes and placing them beside the drawer. Georgie turned round to see me standing in my underwear. She noted the black halter neck bra and the white panties. "That does surprise me, Sally, black bra with white knickers. You know very few women wear matching sets these days. I would have thought you would have gone for a set, but well done for that. You might want to wear a conventional style bra with what I have in mind. White if you please." I removed the black bra and replaced it with a white one from my lingerie drawer. Fortunately, the girls had purchased padded bras to compensate for my lack of a real bust. Georgie came over to help me adjust the shoulder straps. "For comfort, you need to adjust these straps each time you wear your bra. Now I have just the thing to fill those cups, Sally, so back in a moment." She left me standing there in just my underwear. I walked over to what she had picked out for me to wear. Hanging on the back of the wardrobe was a beautiful lilac floral print dress that the label said was a linen/cotton mix. I felt the dress and loved it immediately. Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access.